Hey guys, it's Chris, and today I'm reading out the Black Ops Zombie storyline from the start of Black Ops Zombies to about Die Rise. I would like to thank Haddy for sending me this. So yeah, cheers. Let's get into this. Dr. Ludwig Maxis and Group 935 were tasked with creating an army of super soldiers and a new technology for the government project christened Der Ries, or the Giant. In his experiments, Maxis used element 115 supplied from a meteorite in Japan to duplicate the zombies. The zombies, however, couldn't be controlled and they would always be killed when they went berserk. While this was going on, Max's senior assistant Dr. Edward Richtofen was testing 115 on living subjects to create his super soldiers at his Serbian facility. In his experiments, Richtofen used Takeo Masaki, Nikolai Belinsky, and an unknown Mexican. When Richtofen accidentally killed the Mexican, he replaced him with Tank Dempsey. Dempsey had recently been captured when he went to spy on the asylum to rescue Dr. Peter McCain, an OSS spy sent to infiltrate Group 935. After being captured, a Marine recon team was sent in after him to the abandoned asylum. Richtofen, however, already suspected Peter McCain, along with Harvey Yenna, and the team was killed. The testing affected each of the subjects' minds, making Dempsey extremely aggressive, quieting Takeo into only reciting Japanese proverbs, and making Nikolai functionless without vodka. It also had the side effect of erasing their recent memories, making them forget how Richtofen captured them and what he did to them. Maxis also invented 115 pad teleporters, but they would always destroy anything sent through them. All of these experiments were done with his assistant, Dr. Richtofen. Without Maxis, Richtofen, and another Group 935 member, Dr. Schuster, would complete the first successful teleportation with a walnut, using a very small amount of 115. When Maxis found out about this, he criticized Richtofen for not working on his project and that teleporting a walnut wasn't a big deal. Maxis then told Richtofen that he was going to make a deal with the Nazi Party for money and equipment in exchange for weapons. These new weapons Group 935 created were also powered by 115. Maxis created the ray gun based on plans received from Shino Numa. Richtofen created the monkey bomb and Wunderwaffe DG2 from 115. Maxis promised to mass-produce DG2 to his superiors, but his growing infatuation with Sophia slowed his progress and infuriated Richtofen, who was secretly plotting to overthrow him and take control of Group 935. Richtofen continued his teleporter tests with Schuster behind Maxis' back. Richtofen was the first human test subject and was first sent to the MPD, which he believed to be an alien origin. When he touched it, he felt static and started hearing whispering. He was then teleported to a jungle. Dr. Schuster got worried, then planned to scrap the teleporter when Richtofen had been gone for a few days. But he returned as Schuster was talking about it and told him that there's work to be done. Richtofen sounded much crazier, and Schuster noticed this change. Dr. Schuster and another Group 935 scientist, Dr. Groff, were stationed at the moon, Griffin Station, base, and were trying to figure out how to work their MPD. When Schuster killed a rat, its soul was absorbed by the glass vial protruding from the machine. The pair then proceeded to kill many people until the device was filled with souls. The bodies were raped on the moon, leaving them open to zombification. When they finished, they contacted Richtofen and told him that he was finally going to get rid of the Maxises, indicating that two scientists were aware of this scheme. Unbeknownst to Maxis, Richtofen had already mastered teleportation, while Maxis was still trying to master it. Maxis was getting frustrated that he could not send a subject to the mainframe, so he used his daughter Samantha's dog, Fluffy, as a teleporter test subject, but once again failed. The dog was teleported, but instead of being destroyed like the past test subject, she was zombified, the first hellhound. When Samantha came running in and started questioning her dad what had happened to her dog, Maxis tried to stop her and get out of the room. Richtofen then followed through with his previously planned betrayal by locking Maxis and his daughter in the room with the Hellhound. He then activated the teleporter, which he then thought killed Samantha and Maxis. Little did Richtofen know what Maxis's teleporter actually worked and sent Samantha to the moonbase. In her fear, she ran into the MPD and became one to control the zombies. When Richtofen was informed of what had occurred, he warned the pair of scientists about the Hellhound and told them to find a way to get Maxis. When Maxis was found, they let him approach his daughter to calm her down. After apologizing for his actions, Maxis told Samantha to kill all of the Group 935 members for betraying him, and was subsequently shot. Samantha then proceeded to fulfill her father's request by unleashing the zombies. Richtofen retreated with Dempsey, Nikolai, and Takeo to Shinonuma to think things through. When the zombies attacked Richtofen, he realized that Samantha will stop at nothing to seek revenge. Richtofen planned to recover all of the equipment to take control of the zombies. Richtofen then took the group to Derice, which had been abandoned since the zombie takeover. The group used Wunderwaffe DG2's 115 to overcharge the teleporter, making it capable of time travel. Richtofen was apparently unaware of this possibility until he tried it. He seemed unconcerned that he and his partners had been teleported to an abandoned theatre in Berlin, Germany, sometime after the 1960s. Richtofen knew about the theatre as it was the first place he presented his teleporter to his followers years before. Richtofen had apparently travelled there to retire a secret Russian. Previously, the project was stolen by the Germans, the Thundergun. Sometime prior to the character's arrival at the Soviet Cosmodrome, an Ascension scientist, Yuri Krakshevsky, was transferred to work on sending monkeys into space, known as Project Mercury. Much to his dismay, his transfer was caused by his superior Gersh, who he holds a grudge against after revealing of his duty from Project Thunder, the creation of the Thundergun. As the radio messages progress, Yuri noticed the teddy bear and the Matryoshka dolls and wonders how a child could be let into the station. A child then slowly drives Yuri insane. Yuri, in a state of insanity, finishes the Gersh device and has Gersh activate it, letting in the zombies and trapping Gersh. Yuri soon realizes his mistake and is heard screaming at the end of the last recording. After the events of Kino de Toten, the main characters somehow reach the abandoned Soviet Cosmodrome. The characters then hear Gersh, who tells them that the mechanism must be repaired. He is referring to the Casimir mechanism, which must be repaired by completing different tasks. After all of the tasks are completed and the mechanism is repaired, Gersh is freed, leaving Samantha free to be ridden of in the Aether. While the events of Ascension are occurring in Russia, the events of 5 are also unfolding in the Pentagon. A piece of intel reveals that all Wunderwaffe materials were to be moved to American-controlled installations. As a mainframe is visible behind one of the windows in 5, it is apparent that it is moved there as per this order. While John F. Kennedy, Robert McNamara, Fidel Castro and Richard Nixon are negotiating, zombies break into the Pentagon with only the 4 of them left to fight them. While fighting, they call Dempsey, Takeo, Nikolai and Richtofen using 3 red telephones spread across the Pentagon. Their calls show that they are running out of ammo and will soon be defeated. As they continue fighting, the 3 super soldier test subjects slowly regain their memories. Takeo is the first to remember and remarks to himself that one day when the group is finished fighting zombies, Richtofen will get what he deserves. He also shows his observations of all the other 2. He believes Nikolai drinks vodka because he wishes to forget the past and can't function when he remembers it, perhaps meaning Nikolai is beyond hope. Tank, on the other hand, is slowly making progress, as he remembers that he's seen Richtofen before the fight at Shinonuma. Takeo notices his shifting memories and believes Tank is finally remembering what Richtofen did to him. Sometime in the present, George A. Romero stumbled upon Group 935's research while making a World War II film. He and the cast took a ship out to the abandoned lab in Siberia after he and the ship's crew were zombified. Only the cast, made up of Sarah Michelle Gellar, Robert Englund, Danny Trejo, Michael Rooker remained. This set the stage for Call of the Dead after the Casimir mechanism was completed in Ascension. It overloaded the teleporter and sent the original characters to a Group 935 facility in Siberia, where they were trapped behind a locked door. The celebrities then proceeded to help them escape to paradise. Richtofen then asked the celebrities to help him obtain the golden rod, which they did. Richtofen thanks the group by giving them the DG2 to help fight the zombies. In reality, the group could have escaped after the security system was disabled. It is unknown what became of the celebrities after helping the group escape. Shangri-La, however, does not live up to its name, as its inhabitants all have been zombified before the group's arrival. Richtofen now states that his last step to controlling the world before he is teleported there. The temple houses is a mining facility filled with element 115, explaining the inhabitants' zombification. Prior to the group's arrival to Shangri-La, two explorers, Brock and Gary, went on an expedition to prove their theories on Agartha. Brock later figures out that the temple wasn't built by an ancient civilization, but the people in the modern era interpreting it. After investigating the temple, the pair accidentally activated the temple's time travel and died in the resulting zombie attack. The group travels back in time and helps the pair survive. The pair's changing fate is illustrated by the radio that changes message and location as the group helps them. When the group finally creates the focusing stone, it lands on an altar with Richtofen's name on it, meaning the temple was in fact another Group 935 facility, and explaining Richtofen's knowledge of its location. The two explorers are then sent back to the moment they discover the temple, indicating that they're stuck in a never-ending loop. Now in possession of both the golden rod and the focusing stone, Richtofen believes he can now control the zombies. The group then travels to Area 51 so they can get to the moon, via a teleporter to a top-secret moon facility named Griffin Station. When the group reaches Area 51, it is already overrun. Due to the element 115 on the moon, astronauts and scientists sent there have been zombified before the group's arrival. The people killed by Grove and Schuster contributed even more to the zombie horde. Richtofen then has the group complete the MPD. When the device is completed, it opens up to reveal Samantha Maxis suspended in the air. As it turns out, the device acts like a prison and keeps her cryogenically frozen, so she can be used to control the zombies. Richtofen goes to a terminal to power up the golden rod, or V device, and the focusing stone, which he fuses together. However, he encounters Dr. Maxis inside the terminal, who tries to stop him. Richtofen switches souls with Samantha to gain control of the zombies. Richtofen finally thinks of everything has gone his way until Takeo, Tank and Nikolai decide to stop him. Dr. Maxis, sensing Richtofen's betrayal, prepared a backup plan in case Richtofen got this far. The group then launches 3 missiles located on the moon, which destroys the Earth's atmosphere in the hopes that this will lessen the size of Richtofen's zombie army, and leaving the group along with Samantha stuck on the moon. As these events unfolded, a group of radiation scientists investigated the ruins of a former nuclear test site in Nevada, where the undead have been spotted, forcing the scientists to send a distress signal intercepted by Hangar 18. Among these scientists were Moulton Johnson, who took shelter in a fallout shelter to escape the zombies. CIA and CDC agents were then dispatched into the site in a rescue attempt, resulting in a struggle with a zombie population located there. While the CIA and CDC were in conflict against the zombies, Moulton left the shelter and escaped. He later came across a worn-out bus driven by a robotic bus driver, which transported Moulton away from the site, allowing Moulton to escape. After their deaths, one of the 3 missiles launched by Maxis landed there, obliterating the region. The missile launch left the Earth a post-apocalyptic crumbling wasteland littered with zombies, the survivors banding together to form small survival groups. Among them was Abigail Misty Briarton, Malton Johnson, Samuel J. Sluchlinger, and Russman, who piloted an outdated bus driven by a robotic driver through the decaying remains of the United States, where they were contacted by Maxis at the former Hanford site, who reveals his calculations for the missiles were incorrect, which resulted in the Earth's destructions. Maxis then explains his Plan B, which would be used to activate global polarization devices, such as the one in Hanford, to combat Richthofen's forces. Meanwhile, Richthofen enlisted the help of Strunglinger, who was capable of hearing him, to activate the tower in his favor. After either's objectives are completed, Richthofen teleported the group into 2 crumbling skyscrapers in Shanghai, China. Samuel begins to argue with Richthofen, stating that he doesn't want to listen to him anymore. However, Richthofen warns him of the flesh, in which Samuel replies that the group would kill him if they knew his secret. Suddenly, a horde of zombies attacks Samuel, but he is saved by Russman, who is then tackled by a minion and killed. Malton and Misty arrive in the elevator and rescue Samuel. They travel to the roof, where they are overrun and killed. However, Richthofen would then rewind the events that unfolded there until the second polarization device was activated. While fighting zombies, Samuel will consistently groan and make inhuman-like noises, possibly meaning that he may be becoming a zombie himself. The group then successfully activated the device. That's all I've got from the zombie story from Black Ops. If I get any more, probably from later maps which haven't been released. This only goes up to Die Rise. But yeah, thank you for listening. Peace out. Bye.